I want to ask you something. How many of you have one twin that wakes up maybe a lot at night and the other one who sleeps pretty well? And so in the morning, when the one twin who slept pretty well wakes up at 6:30, you go ahead and get them up, but you let the other one who was waking up during the night sleep a little later. And by a little later, that might mean like another hour or even 2 hours in some cases. Because you're probably thinking, and I totally get this, they need a little extra sleep. They were up during the night. I don't want to wake them up because they're going to just start crying more. And so I'm just going to let them rest. Again, I completely understand this instinct because honestly, I've been there. When you are exhausting and you finally get that more wakeful twin sleeping, it's like, oh my gosh, do not wake this baby up. But let me clue you in on what's actually happening when you do that. These two different wake times are quietly wrecking your entire day and even night sleep. Because now you've got two babies on two different schedules and you're setting two different internal clocks. So their nap windows aren't going to line up. That means their bedtime windows are not going to line up because you're constantly reacting to what they need and you're not leading them. So basically, by the end of the day, you are completely at your wits' end. If this sounds familiar on listening, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and just share this with another twin mom who needs to hear it. I'm Laura, a registered nurse, certified pediatric sleep consultant, mom of five, including a set of fraternal twins. And I'm the founder of twinsleep.com, where you'll find the Twin Sleep Academy. I'm probably a little further down the road than you because my twins are actually in fourth grade right now. And I can tell you from experience that things do get better as they get older, but they can get better even faster right now if you have the right strategy when it comes to sleep. So, one thing I've learned as a twin mom and a certified sleep consultant is that sleep training twins is different than sleep training a singleton baby. And today I'm going to be sharing 5 steps that help twins sleep longer and get twins on the same sleep schedule, even if you are in the middle of total chaos right now. Now, before I get into the actual steps, I do want to share a story because I think you're going to learn a lot from this mom. She had 6-month-old twins. They were her first babies. And when she came to me in the Twin Sleep Academy, her schedule was completely all over the place. They were waking up multiple times at night. She and her husband were exhausted, like that deep, bone tired way that really only twin parents know. And I know because I also have 3 singletons. She really didn't want to use Cry It Out, and she had actually tried some gentle sleep training on her own that she found on the internet, blogs, Pinterest, that sort of thing. And she had tried some of that on her own before reaching out to me, but it just wasn't working for her. And so she actually felt like she was failing or there was something wrong with her babies, like they would never get to be able to sleep through the night. So we worked together. She booked a one-to-one call with me and we figured out a schedule that actually made sense for her babies and her lifestyle. And we came up with a sleep training approach that felt aligned to her values as a mom and not some like one size fits all method that comes from a blog or an Instagram post. We set up her nursery correctly, and then she logged her baby's sleep, like their naps and their bedtime, their night wake ups, for 5 days while I gave her real time coaching and feedback. On one of our calls, she said something that just really stuck with me. She said, "This is such a balanced approach." And that's always what I'm going for with families, especially families of twins, because she had expected like an all or nothing approach. Cry it out or nothing, or strict schedule or full chaos. But sleep, especially with twins, does not have to work that way. So within 5 days, her babies were only waking up once at night for a feeding and then going right back to sleep. They were napping predictably. They were falling asleep on their own in their own cribs without tons and tons of crying. And so that's what's possible when you follow these 5 steps. All right. Step number 1, get your twins up at the same time every morning. This really surprises people the most. And I know because waking a sleeping baby feels completely wrong. Every instinct in you says, don't. But here's what I told that mom that I mentioned earlier, the one who had one twin getting up at 6:30 and then the other one sleeping until 8. I told her, even if one baby wakes up before the other one, get the second one up within 20 minutes of the first one waking up. And she was so skeptical, which is fair. But here's what happened. Once both babies were starting their day at the same time, their nap windows finally lined up. She then knew exactly when to lay them down, and all the guessing and chasing different sleep cues, it stopped. But here's what really surprised her. It was that the wakeful twin, the one who had been getting up so much, right? He actually started sleeping through because by following a consistent schedule from the same start time every single day, he was building the right amount of sleep pressure by the end of the day to actually sleep. One small change, completely different day. The same wake time every single morning is the foundation that everything else is built on. So don't skip this one. So a lot of parents ask me, how do I get my twins on the same schedule? And the truth is that it does start with a shared wake up time. Once both babies start the day together, everything else becomes much easier to synchronize. All right, step number 2, we're going to learn your baby's wake windows and actually use them. So you might hear this term thrown around on the internet, a wake window. It's just simply the amount of time that your babies can comfortably stay awake before they need to sleep again. And this changes constantly as they grow. It even changes throughout the day. Usually, wake window is a little shorter in the morning and gradually gets a little bit longer before you lay them down for bedtime. So, in general, most newborns can only handle being awake about 45 minutes, maybe an hour before they start to really get uncomfortable. But by 4 to 6 months, it stretches to around 2 hours. Now, by the time they're closer to a year, it might be 3 hours and more if we're looking at an evening wake window. But I don't want you chasing wake windows all day for the next 2 years for two different babies. So, what we're going to do is actually just track this for about 5 to 7 days to see where each baby is landing comfortably. And this matters so much for twins specifically because once you know the wake window, you're not waiting for the meltdowns or the yawning or the eye rubbing to tell you it's time. You just already know and you're one step ahead. You're not constantly having to watch each baby for sleep cues every single day before every single nap. Being one step ahead when it comes to twins is everything. Now, I don't want you to be afraid of having an overtired baby, but I will say that an overtired baby is much harder to get down for a nap or nighttime sleep. And overtired twins is just twice the challenge. So when you catch the wake window at the right time, they are going to go down easier, sleep longer, and you're going to get an actual break to do what you need to do to recharge as a twin parent. And this is one of those things that it sounds really simple, but it genuinely changes everything once you start really paying attention to it. Step number 3, put your twins down for naps at the same time, even if one doesn't seem tired yet. This is where a lot of parents get stuck, to be honest. So you're watching one baby and you're thinking, she doesn't look tired. Maybe I'll wait a little longer. But the wake window is up or it's time for a nap. And now the other one is like melting down and kind of the whole nap routine or bedtime routine starts to fall apart. And you end up doing what you do in survival, which is either rocking to sleep or feeding to sleep or laying in bed next to them. So here's the mindset shift that I want you to make. You are leading a rhythm. You're not waiting for your babies to tell you what to do. You already know what they need. And so you are guiding them to that routine where they will thrive. So when you put both babies down at the same time and you have a short nap time routine and a solid bedtime routine based on their wake windows, you stop reacting to chaos and you start creating predictability for them. And predictability, especially for twins is freedom. So, this is something I talk about in the Twin Sleep Academy all the time because there is a real nuance to this depending on your baby's age and temperaments. But the principle's always the same. You lead, they follow. When you do that consistently, something really beautiful happens. They start to expect to be laid down in their cribs. Their little bodies and minds start to prepare for sleep before you even lay them down. Now, number 4, use white noise and make it loud enough to actually work. So, this is honestly one of the fastest, easiest wins for twin families. And I really don't think it gets talked about enough. When you have 2 babies in the same room, or even rooms that might be close together, or if they're in your room, one baby waking and fussing a little bit, it can pull the other one right out of sleep or make it harder for that one to fall asleep, especially when they're first learning how to fall asleep on their own. And then, of course, you have 2 awake babies instead of 1. And it could have been a really simple fix to prevent that and to get you the rest that you were about to get. So, loud, consistent white noise in the sleep space creates a little bit of a sound barrier. It sort of just dampens and drowns out the little sounds, just like the rustling, the fussing, kind of the normal sleeping noises that babies make, and keeps the other baby sleeping a little longer. It also can become a strong sleep association. Think of this less as a lullaby and more of like a protective bubble around their sleep. Now, you want it to be loud enough to be effective, so kind of like the sound of a shower running, and you want it to be consistent. So no bird songs, no music, nature sounds or little tunes. We want it to just be a steady, continuous sound like wind or just sort of like a fan going. And you can just implement this today, like any day, and you might notice a difference tonight. Now, one thing that families tell me is they're concerned about it being too loud for their babies. One thing I would say is you can always back off on the white noise. So, for example, if it's your first night where you finally got them down into their own cribs, you can use a product like the Hatch, and you can turn the volume up on your phone as they're falling asleep. And then once that you're sure they're sound asleep, you're about to go to bed, you can turn from your phone without even having to go in the room. You can turn that white noise back off so it's not so loud throughout the whole night. And you can even set it to turn up a little bit around 5 a.m., 4 a.m., kind of when they start to come out of that deep sleep and into REM sleep, and they might be making a little more noise. And then once they're consistently going to sleep on their own and they're used to each other's noises, you can always back off on the white noise then. All right. Number 5, stay consistent even when it's hard. So I tell my families try everything for at least 3 to 5 days, if not a week. Same wake time, same routines, same bedtime every single day. Because remember, our babies are not robots. It's not like we can turn a button and magically make them sleep. They need to learn, and it does take them a few days to learn something. Now, just because you're doing a really strict nap or bedtime routine every single day, it doesn't mean you're always going to have to do this. This is mostly for when you are just teaching them how to sleep all night. In the future, if you have things going on, you'll know how much your babies can take, and about 80% of the time, stay consistent. And then that other 20%, you can kind of go with the flow a little bit if there's holidays or family events. But especially in the beginning, consistency is so important because then when those family events do come up, all you have to do is go through the same bedtime routine, even if it's not at the exact same time, and your babies are going to recognize the routine and they're going to know that sleep is coming. So I know consistency, it gets talked about a lot. It can sound simple, but really it is the step that most twin parents who are in survival mode, they skip it because when you're exhausted, the idea of holding a schedule for 2 babies, and maybe even you have older kids, it feels like one more thing you've got to manage. But here's what I want you to understand. Consistency is actually what removes the mental load from you. When the schedule is the same every day, you stop having to think about it and figure it out. You stop second guessing. You stop reacting. The day has a shape, and you and your kids know what's coming next. Babies thrive on predictability, and especially twin babies. Their little bodies learn the rhythm, they start to anticipate sleep. And when that happens, there's less resistance, longer stretches, and you start getting your evenings back. One of the things that I love most about working with families is watching the moment it clicks. When a mom goes from dreading bedtime to actually looking forward to that quiet time after both babies are down. That shift, it really happens through consistency. And it does not have to be perfect. It just has to be consistent. So I want to just take a moment before I close to talk about what's really on the other side of this. Because this isn't just about getting more sleep, although you do absolutely deserve more sleep as a twin parent. When your twins start sleeping, your mind clears. You stop operating in that constant fog. You become the calm, patient mom that you actually are, not just this version of yourself that's trying to get through the next hour or the next cup of coffee. I had a client who was a real exercise enthusiast, but after her twins were born, it was really hard for her to get back into the swing of things, especially because she was awake all night. She came to me when her twins were about a year old. And for the entire pregnancy and the first year of her twins' life, she really hadn't been able to exercise the way she wanted to. And she was starting to really feel worn down. So once we got her twins sleeping consistently, she was able to start gently getting back into her exercise routine again. Now, for some of you, it might be the evenings, like finally just having a couple of hours to sit, decompress, scroll your phone without guilt, read a book, watch a movie, reconnect with your partner, or maybe it is starting that gentle exercise routine again, or cleaning, or getting meals ready for the next day. This YouTube channel, this podcast, it honestly wouldn't exist without a predictable nap schedule. So think about what you might do, even with just 2 hours back in your day. And that's what we're really talking about here. Because your babies deserve a rested, present, and joyful mom. And so do you. So if these 5 steps resonated with you, I have a free guide linked below that goes deeper into some of the twin sleep foundations. So go ahead and grab it. It's free and it will help you get started right away. If you're ready for real support, if you want someone in your corner helping you build a schedule, choose the right sleep training method for your family, and actually see results, the Twin Sleep Academy is where we do all of that. We have a self-paced option that you can go through on your own. And I also have an upgrade when you check out that includes a live call with me and 7 days of real-time texting support and sleep log review. So you're never figuring it out alone. And that's exactly how my client with the 6-month-old twins got results in 5 days. Real-time feedback does make all the difference. Links for everything are in the description below, and comment down below which of these 5 steps you are going to start tonight. And lastly, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and just share this with another twin mom who needs to hear it.